9:35 Central African time, and we're going to be switching gears now to another interesting conversation. We'll turn to a story that is already stirring intense debate in international policy and security circles. A new research paper published by the Afghan examines the 2026 conflict between Pakistan and Afghanistan, and it also challenges the official narrative quite head on. From the little that I could read, because it's quite a long document, the paper argues that the war may not be driven purely by counterterrorism concerns, as Pakistan has repeatedly stated, but could instead be tied to deeper, more institutional and political interests within Pakistan's military circles, and those could be quite varying, including domestic power dynamics, economic pressure, and efforts to maintain strategic relevance on the global stage. And this is going to be an interesting conversation because it also raises quite controversial claims around the resurgence of the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, suggesting that some of the conditions enabling its return may have been shaped by Pakistan's own policy decisions over the years. And I think it is very, very important to note that fact that there are a lot of contested interpretations, and that not all of them are universally accepted assessments of this conflict. That's why I want to break it all down. I want to unpack the thinking behind this research, and we're joined by one of its co-authors, Mr. Sangar Paykhar, editor of the Afghan and host of the Afghan podcast. He's also a university lecturer out in the Netherlands. Sangar, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you giving us the time. Welcome to News and Views.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
No, pleasure is all ours, and I want to jump right into it. If you can take us to the core argument of the paper. I only skimmed through it. As you can imagine, it's quite a detailed document. What led you and your co-authors to describe this conflict as, and I quote, a manufactured war?
Well, we are observing the tensions between Pakistan and Afghanistan for quite a long time. And we see the prevalence of a narrative, claims made by Pakistani authorities, that also happens to be taken verbatim by international media, international organizations. And this narrative is taken at face value as factually true. And there is no critical examination of specific decisions made by Pakistani security forces, their politicians, many specific acts throughout several years that have contributed to rise of militancy inside Pakistan's tribal areas, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province and Balochistan. The fact that the Pakistani authorities are documented, and this is not a claim made by just Afghans, international researchers and organizations have documented that the Pakistani military has allowed militant groups to grow and settle inside Pakistan. They even supported the Afghan Taliban during the 20 years of US occupation. So they have a history of nurturing militant groups. And when they nurture these militant groups, it's due to their strategic interests. The Pakistani military holds a number of groups as their assets, whether it's in Kashmir, to destabilize the region and be at odds with India, or it is with Afghanistan. Now, the problem is that to an extent, everyone accepts that this is true and that is a problem in Pakistan. But when it comes to Afghanistan, since the government in Afghanistan is only recognized by Russia, and it is a very controversial government, and they have a lot of criticism that emerges from all around the world against that government. Therefore, when on the opposite side of Pakistan, when there's Afghanistan, the narrative of Pakistan is accepted, even though the facts that we have documented in our research show that, number one, after the emergence of the new Islamic Emirate government in Afghanistan in 2021, it was the Pakistani security that decided that they should resettle the TTP commanders back into Pakistan. So the
mm,
ones who are in Afghanistan during the last decade, when they were involved in the fighting against American forces, those TTP commanders, they were settled back inside Pakistan. Significant leaders of the Pakistani Taliban were released from prison. And
mm,
the top echelon of Pakistani security and intelligence, they gave a briefing where they said, well, we have to bring these people back and settle them in Pakistan. Otherwise, they may potentially join Daesh or
mm,
ISIS.
mm,
So
mm,
this is documented in Pakistani news media, international media. This happened in 2022. So they settled those people inside Pakistan. And how did they settle them? You see, Pakistan has built a fence. They've spent millions of dollars building a fence that is uh, hundreds of kilometers long, that goes along the colonial line imposed on Afghanistan, the Durand Line. And they built this fence on their own side of the Durand Line. There is a trench behind the fence. The fence is fortified. There are military posts after each several kilometers. Pakistan is the sixth largest military in the world. They have loads and loads of armed forces. And despite all these armed forces, they claim that the TTP regularly penetrates through their fence and
mm,
conducts attacks 30, 40, sometimes hundreds of kilometers deep inside Pakistan. And they retaliate just like they did last night. They retaliate by bombing villages and killing women and children, like they did last night in Khost Spera district, where 19 people were killed last night, and in Birmal districts of Paktika, where 3 children were killed. They commit these atrocities and they say, well, we're retaliating because the TTP is attacking from Afghanistan. And
mm,
this narrative is not being challenged. While the evidence is there, official statements of the Pakistani military is there, their intelligence services, their politicians. What we try to do with our research is to document everything that is out there publicly available, like the information that is publicly available. And we've created this analysis based on information that is accessible for everyone. And based on that analysis, we draw the conclusion that the Pakistani military uses the counterterrorism narrative as justification to pursue its own agenda, which is to become relevant to the new Trump administration. You see the tensions
mm,
at the Strait of Hormuz um, reveal that the United States has a particular agenda for that particular part of the world, but they also have an agenda for Central Asia. And
mm,
in order to align with the interests of Trump administration, not just in West Asia, but also in Central Asia, Pakistan is trying to orchestrate this conflict with Afghanistan, because for the past decades, Pakistan has received billions and billions of dollars in assistance and support from United States, so that Pakistan serve as its regional military partner in counterterrorism and whatnot. And when the war ended in Afghanistan and the United States pulled all its troops from Afghanistan in 2021, that tap of dollars that was open for Pakistan, that was shut down. So they don't receive that kind of military support and financial support from the United States anymore. And this is why fomenting a new conflict in the region, drawing international attention to Afghanistan, and creating this narrative that Afghanistan is a hotbed of terrorism and they're attacking everyone. This is a deliberate attempt to draw international attention and draw international support for what
mm.
essentially what Pakistan is trying to do, and that is to become more relevant for Western interest in the region.
I want us to take a quick break because you touched on a lot of aspects, but I think the one that really stands out for me, at least from the report, is the fact that you argue that past policy decisions may have contributed to the resurgence of the TTP and other militant groups similar to it. If maybe when we come back from the break, you can unfold a bit more on that, some of those policy decisions that you feel have led to the resurgence of the TTP and militant groups like it. But we'll do that after the short break.
It's a new beginning. It's a new era. Salam Media, humanitarian journalism.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042-203-1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
Shimmer, sparkle, captivate. Nothing less than a masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness. And every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We tailor-make designer gold, platinum, and diamond jewelry. Trade in or remodel your old gold. Clad yourself with classy name-branded watches. We offer insurance valuation and freezer card calculation. Visit us at 534 Ridge Road, Overport, or call 031-208-9142. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, manufacturers of fine gold and diamond jewelry.
Africa. Give the gift of clean water with Africa Muslims Agency. With every water well or borehole you donate, your drop becomes a river, reconnecting communities to nourishment, education, dignity and empowerment. Sponsor a water well for 17,000 Rand in Africa or a borehole for 65,000 Rand in Afghanistan or Africa. Quench the thirst. Reconnect the soul with Africa Muslims Agency.
When the perfect blend of stylish decor, exquisite halal cuisine, and warm hospitality come together, it could only mean Al Bayt Lodge, your true home away from home. Al Bayt is the ideal heaven for families, business people, and tourists with its 4-star family rooms and other luxurious facilities. Conveniently situated close to Port Elizabeth Airport, the beach, and other amenities, your stay will be truly unforgettable as you'll be taking home lasting memories of the warm hospitality, the serenity and tranquility that Al Bayt has to offer. For reservations, call 041-583-6415 or visit www.albaytlodge.co.za.
At Dynasty Islamic, we believe your financial future should grow with purpose and in line with your values. We specialize in Sharia-compliant financial solutions designed to protect, grow, and preserve your wealth. Whether it's investment planning, risk cover, or structuring your legacy, our approach is rooted in transparency, integrity, and ethical principles. Too often, people invest without knowing if their money aligns with their beliefs. At Dynasty Islamic, we change that, offering you clarity, confidence, and peace of mind. Let us help you build a future that's not only financially secure, but spiritually aligned. Dynasty Islamic, where your wealth meets your values. Get in touch with us at info@dynastyislamicfas.co.za, visit www.dynastyislamic.com or find us on Facebook and Instagram.
Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media. Humanity sets the agenda.
Welcome back. Still tuned in to News and Views with myself, Salailo Makwidir, and I'm still in conversation with the editor of the Afghan Eye and host of the Afghan Eye podcast and university lecturer out in the Netherlands, Paykhar Sangar. And we're having a conversation around the Pakistani-Afghani war. There's a really quite detailed research paper that exposes some of the drivers behind this conflict. And before we went on to that break, Paykhar, I wanted us to touch on one of the arguments that you've made, the fact that, past policy decisions may have contributed to the resurgence of military groups like the TTP. Can you unpack that for us a bit more and maybe touch on those policy decisions and the impact that they've had?
Thank you. So the TTP as a militant group emerged in Pakistan after 9/11, because when the Americans invaded Afghanistan, most of the Taliban leaders from Afghanistan, they fled into the tribal areas of Pakistan. And since the Pakistani government, the then dictator of Pakistan, General Pervez Musharraf, was an ally of the then Bush administration in the United States, they conducted several military campaigns in the tribal areas where they basically massacred a lot of civilians. And this campaign was to show the international community that Pakistan is cracking down on Islamist militants in their own backyard. But that attack by the military created a lot of resentment in Pakistan, because all these armed groups in Pakistan that were also supporting the Afghan Taliban, they were initially also supported by the Pakistani military. The Pakistani military basically had a policy that they would say, well, as long as you are involved in wars in Kashmir, in Afghanistan, in Bosnia, whatnot, we're fine with you. And they basically lived in the then tribal areas that is no longer called tribal area. Officially, the tribal status of those regions have been revoked. But back then, they lived under a colonial law that was not same as the Pakistani standard law. And in those areas, everyone had guns and everyone had armed groups. But those regions were bombarded and attacked, and many people were killed. That created the first wave of resentment among these groups. Then there were some other major incidents inside Pakistan where conservative religious leaders were attacked and killed. And this fermented into formation of the Pakistani Taliban in somewhere around 2007, 2008. And from that moment onwards, these militant groups, they said, while we want to fight in Afghanistan against the Americans, the Pakistani military is an ally of the United States. They allow Pakistan soil to be used against Afghanistan in the current occupation and invasion in Afghanistan. So these militant groups, they turned their guns against their own government. However, this is a very important point to note, is that not all militants who are from Pakistan and who are allies of the Afghan Taliban were actually involved in fighting inside Pakistan. Like, for example, Hafiz Gul Bahadur, who is a very notorious and very significant militant figure in Pakistan, he, until even several years ago, he was only focused in fighting inside Afghanistan. He didn't wage any militancy inside Pakistan because he was considered the good Taliban. Again, this is the terminology popularized in Pakistan by their own security forces and their own media. They would call these people the good Taliban because they were Pakistani, they were Taliban, but they were only fighting in Afghanistan. But as soon as they turned their guns against Pakistan, suddenly they became a major problem. Now, these groups, to a certain extent, Pakistan allowed them to operate in Afghanistan during the US occupation, because as long as there was occupation and there was fighting going on, there was instability in the region, Pakistani military could sell itself as a relevant actor in the region, and they would secure financial and military support from United States. But what happened with these groups is that to a certain extent, they would allow them to function. And sometimes they would start these military campaigns and they would go and do horrific things, atrocities in Waziristan, for example. A lot of people talk about what happened in Gaza. They talk about Israeli invasion or attacks on Gaza in 2014. But what most people maybe don't remember is that around that time in 2014, Pakistan conducted a most devastating attack on Waziristan in their own tribal areas. They killed loads of people. They forced more than 1 million people from Pakistani tribal areas into Afghanistan. So women, children, elderly, these people, they were forced to seek refuge in Afghanistan. And they live now on the Afghan side of the Durand Line. And many of these airstrikes conducted by Pakistan are often targeted at those refugee settlements of Pakistani ethnic Pashtuns who have fled Pakistan due to these military campaigns of Pakistani military, and they have settled in Afghanistan as refugees. Now, what happened last night is that a residential area in Khost was targeted and 19 people were killed. And in Paktika, in Bermal district, they also targeted residential areas of people. And those places are places where these refugee communities are settled. Now, the Pakistani argument is that we are hitting homes of the militants who are conducting attacks in Pakistan. But what we have seen over the last several years when Pakistan does all these airstrikes is that most of the people they have killed so far are civilians. All the significant leaders, the commanders, the powerful figures in the TTP who are basically, they are the leaders of these militant campaigns inside Pakistan. None of them have been killed in Afghanistan. They haven't killed any of these people because they aren't in Afghanistan. They are in Pakistan. They are on the other side of the Durand Line. And therefore, what is becoming very apparent for those who are closely observing this conflict is that Pakistan, to an extent, allows this militancy to exist in its backyard to justify the fact that they are taking so much such a big share of the government's budget in Pakistan, and that they have this policy where they basically dictate everything in Pakistan. There is documents that they conspired to overthrow the popular Prime Minister Imran Khan. There are documents that they have been involved in all kinds of other undemocratic efforts inside Pakistan. Now they have an army chief who is by constitution declared immune, so he cannot be prosecuted for anything ever. They have created a Supreme Council that basically manages the entire economy of Pakistan like it's some kind of communist dictatorship. The entire economy is now in their hands. And that regime, that government is using this militancy as a justification to stay in power, to tell Pakistani population, look, you are under attack, there is terrorism, you have to support us and you have to take our command and accept everything we say. This is the dynamic that has been created in Pakistan. And this is also why we believe that Pakistan is not interested in resolving militancy, because if they were interested in resolving militancy, in 2022, the Afghan Taliban government facilitated a dialogue and even a permanent ceasefire from the TTP side was negotiated in Kabul. Afghanistan managed to convince the TTP to declare a permanent ceasefire. And during that negotiation, during that peace settlement, a significant leader of the TTP was assassinated in Afghanistan. And the TTP, they said, well, we came to Kabul, we came here to negotiate, we even agreed to a ceasefire, but they killed our leader. So there was mistrust. And then from that moment on, everything escalated. So this is why we should be very wary of everything that Pakistan says, because their actions are documented and their decisions, their policies are documented, and they clearly reveal a line where it is very apparent that they're not interested in security in that part of their country, or that they want some kind of settlement. They just want keep the tension there as long as they can hold it, and in return for that, they can demand all kinds of things from the Pakistani people, because the Pakistani people are constantly in fear of attacks and explosions and whatnot. And they can say, look, you are being threatened. There is terrorism. You need to accept the military dictatorship. And similarly, when it comes to their international relations with the United States, European Union, other major world powers, they say, well, we are your partner in counterterrorism, and we are your partner against militancy. And most significantly, Central Asia is becoming an emerging economic power in the region. Central Asia is expanding. The Central Asian republics are investing in railroads, in oil and gas pipelines. They're investing in all kinds of infrastructure in Afghanistan, because the region is being integrated economically. And this regional economic integration is creating a new economic power in the global stage. And as we see what Donald Trump is doing to weaken China or weaken allies of China like Iran, or the war in Ukraine, we have to understand that all these major global tensions between major powers, they play out in places like Afghanistan. So if Afghanistan remains unstable, Central Asian republics will not be able to expand and grow economically. They will not be able to create a vast network of roads and pipelines and railways that will connect the Middle East or Iran and India and Pakistan with the region. So in order to prevent this kind of growth and stability, they want to keep Afghanistan as a sort of unstable region that is not suitable for investment. And this factor is causing these tensions. If we just look at the bigger picture, we will see that the real interest of Pakistani military lies in instability and constant chaos. They like in the last 80 years since emergence of Pakistan, the country that has over 200 million population, their economy has always been weak. They have so much potential. Pakistan has extremely huge potential to become a very powerful economical actor in the region, just like India has become a major power, global power. Pakistan has the same potential. But the military, due to their control over the whole society, they have never allowed that country to prosper. And they have never allowed the economy of Pakistan to become an economy that is based on building resources and assets that contribute to prosperity of their people. Rather, they have focused more on militancy. They have focused more on constant tensions, whether it was during the Cold War as an ally of the United States, or now later during the war on terror. And this dynamic in Pakistan is the real reason why they are constantly at odds with their neighbors, whether it's with India or Afghanistan. And this is the sad reality of the region.
No, I think you've touched on very, very important notes. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. This is a conversation I wish we could continue with. But really, really appreciate you giving us your time, and hope we chat again soon.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure.
There we go. That was editor of the Afghan Eye, Paykhar Sangar, giving us insight on a paper that he recently co-authored that looked at some of the key drivers that have been exposed, that are behind the 2026 conflict between Afghanistan and Pakistan. And I think, there's so much to unpack. I think from internal affairs, Pakistan, and how its economy essentially, its economy could be allowing for this kind of instability, and also some of the policy decisions that they've taken over the years that could have exacerbated the war between Pakistan and Afghanistan. I think there's so much to unpack, and I think we need to have Paykhar join us for another part 2 edition of this conversation to look at some of the key factors and drivers of this instability. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be wrapping up the show with our #FireUp feature.
Soweto, it's time to stand together for justice, peace, and solidarity. Join us for the annual Soweto Walk for Gaza, taking place on Saturday, the 20th of June at 7:30 a.m. The walk will begin at the historic Regina Mundi Church and proceed to the monumentous Dlamini Mosque, bringing together people of all faiths, backgrounds, and communities in a powerful show of unity and support. Bring your family, friends, and fellow residents as we walk together for a common cause. Let your voice be heard and your presence counted. That's the annual Soweto Walk for Gaza, Saturday, the 20th of June at 7:30 in the morning, starting at Regina Mundi Church and ending at Dlamini Mosque. Together we walk, together we stand, together we show solidarity.